Right now, many spiritual seekers are going through a silent crisis, and they don't even realize it. It's not just emotional burnout. It's not simply stress or fatigue. It is something far more hidden, far more delicate, and deeply connected to the soul. It is what I call spiritual exhaustion. If you've been feeling strangely empty, as if nothing touches your heart the way it used to, if the tools that once helped you, your meditations, your affirmations, your rituals, no longer bring peace but feel like lifeless habits, then perhaps this message is the mirror you have been waiting to see. There are signs, subtle, quiet, yet powerful, that your soul may be calling for rest, that it is asking you to pause, not to push harder, but to simply let yourself breathe. And when we listen closely, these signs are not punishments, not failures, but invitations into a deeper stage of awakening. The first sign appears in the mind. Your thoughts begin to move in circles, looping endlessly like a broken record. No matter how much you analyze, clarity does not come. Once, your mind felt like a wise companion, helping you make sense of life. But now, it feels more like a restless echo chamber, whispering the same words again and again. This is not because your mind has turned against you. It is simply tired, longing for silence, for space, for release. The second sign shows itself in your practices. Meditation, journaling, prayers. Things that once lit up your heart suddenly feel heavy, like carrying stones instead of touching the sky. You sit to meditate, but your breath feels shallow, your mind resists. You open your journal, but the words don't come. This is not laziness. It is your soul asking for stillness beyond methods, asking to be free from the burden of performance. Another sign is silence within your intuition. Once, your inner voice spoke clearly, guiding you with whispers of truth. But now it feels quiet, as if the radio has lost its signal. You may feel abandoned, but this silence is not absence. It is recalibration. Your intuition is not gone. It is simply retuning itself to a deeper frequency, waiting for you to soften, to listen differently, to trust the quiet. Then comes emotional numbness. You are not drowning in sadness. You are not soaring in joy. You are simply blank. It may frighten you, this emptiness, but it is not apathy. It is your soul's emergency protocol, protecting you from overload. Like a snake that clouds its vision before shedding its skin, you are in a cocooning stage. Your sensitivity withdrawing for a moment, so that it can be reborn sharper, clearer, more alive than before. You may also notice your body feels heavy, drained of energy. Sleep does not restore you. Rest feels incomplete. This is because your awakening is not just mental, it is physical. Your body is processing, integrating, rewiring your nervous system. Spiritual transformation is not light work. It shakes every cell. And so your body whispers, "Slow down, let me catch up. Let me breathe." There may be distance between you and others. Even in the company of loved ones, you feel far away, like looking at life through a glass wall. This separation is not punishment. It is space being created for you to meet yourself again. When your soul realigns, the glass will shatter, and you will return to relationships with more presence, more truth, more love than before. You may begin to question your purpose. The path that once felt alive now looks blurred, uncertain. You wonder if you've lost it all. But purpose does not vanish. It only hides under exhaustion. Like a seed buried beneath the soil, it waits quietly. And when you allow yourself to rest, to soften, that seed will rise again, stronger and truer than before dawn. And then comes the final sign. You begin to crave stillness more than answers. You stop seeking constant meaning, constant direction, constant validation. What you want most is simply to pause, to sit in silence, to let the world move without you for a while. And this is sacred. This is not regression. It is the holy inhale before the next exhale of growth. All of these signs may sound heavy, but they are not endings. They are beginnings hidden in disguise. Spiritual exhaustion is not failure. It is an invitation to release the need to perform, to release the guilt of pausing, to let yourself be held by the universe. So if you recognize yourself in these words, let them be a reminder. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply tired. And that is okay. Let yourself rest. Let your soul breathe. When you return, your path will still be here, waiting, shining, filled with love. And if this message has touched something inside you, I invite you to share which sign spoke to you the most in the comments. Like this video if it resonated, and subscribe if you wish to continue walking together on this journey of awakening. Until then, rest gently, with love, and with trust in the universe that always holds you. 1. The looping mind. There are moments in your journey when you notice your thoughts no longer feel like a river flowing forward, but more like a wheel endlessly turning, circling back to the same starting point, repeating the same patterns without offering you any new answers. You may sit in silence, trying to meditate, but instead of peace, you hear echoes, repeating words, old doubts, familiar fears that you thought you had already moved past, returning again and again, as if your mind has become a chamber where the same sounds never stop bouncing. Once, your mind felt like a trusted companion, a place where insights would arise, where creativity could spark, where prayers and intentions flowed naturally like fresh water from a spring. But now, it may feel like the companion has changed into an echo chamber, where every thought that arises only repeats itself, circling around like a bird trapped inside a glass dome, unable to find the way out. This is not a sign that you are failing, nor does it mean you have lost your path. It is simply a sign that the mind itself has grown weary, that your inner voice is asking for rest, not more effort, not more pushing, not another attempt to break through by force. Don't imagine a candle that has been burning all night. Even the brightest flame must eventually soften, flicker, and allow itself to be renewed before it can shine again. The mind is like that candle. It cannot burn endlessly without rest, and when it grows tired, it begins to recycle the same fuel, the same thoughts, the same patterns, until you realize it is not clarity that is missing, but silence. Clarity does not always arrive when you force yourself to think harder, when you chase answers, when you grip your thoughts and demand they reveal truth. Clarity often comes in the exact opposite way, in the moment you release, step back, and let the mind breathe again. Just as muddy water clears when you stop stirring it, your thoughts too will settle when you stop wrestling with them. And in the stillness, what was hidden will slowly rise to the surface, as naturally as the moon rising above the horizon. 2. Practices feel heavy. There comes a time on the spiritual path when the very practices that once felt like gateways to light begin to feel strangely heavy, almost like weights you are carrying rather than wings that help you rise. Meditation, journaling, affirmations. The rituals that once made your heart feel alive, that once gave you a sense of opening and expansion, suddenly start to feel like duties, like boxes to be checked rather than moments of sacred connection. You may find yourself sitting on the meditation cushion, not out of longing to meet yourself more deeply, but out of obligation, because a part of you whispers that if you don't do it, you are somehow failing. Or you write in your journal and notice that the words feel flat, lifeless, as though they no longer carry the fire of truth, but instead echo like shadows of what once was alive. This heaviness is not a sign that you are lazy, nor is it proof that you have lost your devotion. It is something far more tender, more mysterious, more sacred than that. It is the soul's way of whispering to you that it does not want to be pushed into routine anymore, that it is yearning not for more effort, but for a deeper stillness that cannot be reached through repetition alone. Just as a flower cannot be forced open by pulling on its petals. Your soul cannot be forced awake by repeating practices when what it truly desires is to rest in pure being. Give yourself permission to pause, to step back, to lay down the practices for a while, not in rejection of them, but in reverence for the silence that exists before and beyond them. The universe does not punish you for resting. The universe has never been keeping score. It only waits with infinite patience for you to remember that you are already held, already embraced, already loved, even when you do nothing at all. In truth, when you allow yourself to stop striving, you may find that the stillness you were chasing through practice has been here all along, waiting in the quiet, waiting in the space between breaths, waiting in the simple act of being alive. 3. Intuition goes silent. There are seasons on the path when the voice within, that quiet whisper you once leaned on, begins to fade, and the inner guidance that once spoke so clearly now feels like it has gone completely silent. Perhaps there was a time when you could close your eyes, breathe, and instantly feel the nudge of your intuition, the gentle pull of direction, the soft voice of knowing that seemed to arise without effort. But now, when you reach inward, you may hear nothing but quiet, as though the voice has vanished, leaving you with an emptiness that feels unsettling, even frightening, as though you have been abandoned by the very compass you trusted most. Yet this silence is not punishment, nor is it proof that you are lost. It is a deeper kind of turning, a sacred recalibration, much like a radio that must fall silent for a moment before it retunes itself to a higher frequency. Just as the tide recedes only to gather strength before it returns, your intuition too withdraws not to abandon you, but to reorganize, to deepen, to prepare you for a connection that is even clearer, even stronger than before. Trust that what feels like absence is actually presence in disguise, because silence itself can be a teacher, showing you that your wisdom is not gone. It is simply learning to speak in a language you have not yet recognized. The pause of your intuition is not the end of guidance. It is the inhale before the exhale, the stillness before the next unfolding, the space where your inner compass sharpens itself in ways you cannot yet see. And if you can surrender to the silence, if you can lean into it instead of fighting against it, you may discover that the quiet is not empty at all. It is full, brimming with seeds of wisdom that are waiting for the right moment to bloom within you. 4. Emotional numbness. There are phases on the journey when you realize you no longer feel sadness, but you also no longer feel joy, as if your inner world has gone dim, leaving you with a blank canvas where emotions used to move in vivid color. You may look at moments that once stirred you deeply, music, art, laughter, prayer, and find that they now pass through you like wind through hollow spaces, leaving no trace, no echo, just silence. This emptiness can feel confusing, even frightening, because the absence of both joy and sorrow may whisper to you that something is broken inside, that you have lost your spark, that you are somehow disconnected from life itself. But this is not apathy, it is not indifference, and it is not failure. It is what I call the soul's emergency protocol, the mysterious way your inner being protects itself when the weight of everything has grown too heavy to carry. Just as the body instinctively pulls back from fire to protect itself from being burned, the soul too creates a shield, a soft numbing, so that you are not overwhelmed by more than you are ready to feel. Instead of fighting this numbness, instead of shaming yourself for not being able to feel, what if you saw it as a cocooning phase? A sacred pause where life is secretly preparing you for a new sensitivity? Like a snake that grows too large for its skin and must shed the old before moving into the new. You too are in the delicate process of loosening what no longer fits, shedding the layers of old sensitivity that cannot carry you forward. And though the silence of numbness may feel empty, in truth, it is the fertile soil of transformation. Because when the cocoon finally opens, you will discover that your heart is not gone. It is simply being rewoven to feel more deeply than ever before. Point 5. The body feels drained. There are times on this path when no matter how many hours you allow yourself to rest, no matter how long you lie in bed, the fatigue does not leave. It lingers like a shadow, following you into the day, reminding you that something deeper than sleep is at work within you. You may wake in the morning after what seems like enough rest, yet feel as though you have carried the weight of entire worlds through the night. Your limbs heavy, your breath slow, your energy stretched thin, as if your body has been working in secret while you dreamed. This weariness can feel frightening if you measure it by ordinary standards, because the mind may whisper that something is wrong with you, that you are broken, that your strength has disappeared. But the truth is far more gentle. Your body is not broken. It is integrating. It is absorbing waves of transformation that your soul has invited. And this invisible work is no less real than any physical labor you have ever known. Spiritual awakening is not only a matter of the mind or heart. It is also a profound rewiring of the nervous system, a recalibration of the cells, a deep shifting of the inner currents that carry your life force. Just as the earth quakes when mountains are forming, your body too trembles, slows, and tires when it is reshaping itself to hold more light, more awareness, more truth than it ever has before. Instead of resenting this heaviness, you are invited to honor it, to see fatigue not as an enemy, but as a teacher that asks you to move slower, to breathe softer, to treat your own body as the sacred vessel it truly is. Allow yourself to walk more gently, to rest when you need, to eat in a way that nourishes rather than depletes, to move with the rhythm of a body that is not failing you, but transforming you. Because the exhaustion you feel is not the end of your energy. It is the beginning of your rebirth, the slow unfolding of a body that is learning how to hold a new vibration, one that will carry you forward into a life more aligned with who you truly are. 6. Distance from others. There are times in your journey when you find yourself surrounded by familiar faces, yet the sense of connection feels like it has slipped quietly out of reach, as though you are standing in the same room as everyone else, but your heart is watching life unfold from behind an invisible glass wall. It is not that love has disappeared or that bonds no longer matter, but rather a subtle shift has taken place deep within, where your soul begins to pull back gently, asking for a sacred pause, a moment of breathing space, a time to retreat into its own silence. This distance, though it feels strange, is not emptiness, and it is not loneliness. It is a kind of inner sanctuary being built, a hidden temple rising quietly within you, so your spirit can learn to hear its own voice before it reaches outward again. Sometimes, the people around you will not understand why your laughter is quieter, why your words are fewer, why you seem to drift into thought even in the middle of conversations. But this is simply your soul reorganizing itself, like the tide pulling back before it returns stronger to the shore. This space is sacred, because in the stillness of separation you are not pushing anyone away. You are simply drawing closer to your own essence, peeling away the noise, listening for the faint music that has always been playing within you. And in time, when the alignment returns, when your inner voice steadies and your energy feels whole again, relationships will not just resume, they will feel alive in a deeper way, filled with clarity, authenticity, and the kind of connection that no longer drains but uplifts. What may look like distance to the outside world is in truth a sacred realignment, a silent work of the soul that prepares you for a love more real, a bond more vibrant, and a life that feels less like surviving in the crowd and more like truly belonging to the whole. 7. Questioning purpose. There are seasons in life when you used to walk with certainty, when every step seemed guided by a clear direction, and the path ahead looked straight and bright, as though you were following a map written in the stars. But suddenly, there comes a shift, a moment when the clarity dissolves into mist, and the very ground you once trusted feels uncertain, leaving you standing still, questioning if the compass of your heart has somehow stopped working. This uncertainty can feel heavy, like a silent weight pressing on your chest, whispering doubts that maybe you've lost your way, or perhaps even that you no longer have a purpose at all. But the truth is far gentler than the fear. Purpose has not abandoned you. It has not vanished into emptiness. It has simply curled itself inward, hidden beneath the layers of exhaustion, waiting patiently until you are ready to meet it again. When you are tired, when your spirit has carried too much for too long, even the most beautiful calling can feel distant, not because it is gone, but because your body and soul are asking for pause, asking you to rest before you can hear the music again. And in that rest, in that surrender to stillness, the exhaustion begins to melt. And what rises slowly is not something forced, not something you have to chase, but something that blooms naturally, like a flower unfolding under the warmth of the morning sun. Purpose does not demand to be hunted down or wrestled into existence. It reveals itself when the noise quiets, when the body softens, when the heart remembers that it was never lost, only waiting to be rediscovered. And so, if you are questioning your purpose right now, know that the uncertainty is not a failure. It is an invitation, a sacred transition where your soul is asking you to trust the unseen, to trust the silence, and to trust that clarity is already on its way back to you. 8. Craving stillness. There comes a moment on the spiritual path when you realize that you're no longer reaching outward with the same hunger for answers, no longer chasing book after book, teacher after teacher, or practice after practice, because something within you begins to whisper that perhaps the seeking itself has become a noise that drowns out the very truth you're longing to hear. At the deepest level, you may notice a longing rising from within, a longing not for more knowledge or more guidance, but for silence, for a pause so profound that it feels like resting in the arms of eternity itself. And this longing, this craving for stillness, can sometimes confuse the mind, which is so used to equating progress with action, with learning, with doing, that it cannot see how sacred it is to simply stop and breathe. But hear this with the softness of your heart. This craving is not regression. It is not a step backward. It is the soul's way of preparing for a deeper unfolding. The inhale before the exhale, the gathering of energy before the next great leap. Just as the ocean must retreat before it surges forward in its next wave, so too does the spirit sometimes need to draw inward, gathering unseen strength in the stillness before it rises again with new clarity, new direction, and new vitality. Let yourself be, without pressure to perform, without pressure to prove, without pressure to force meaning into every day, because even in your quietest pause, life itself is still breathing you, still carrying you, still guiding you toward what comes next. And in that stillness, in that sacred pause, something profound begins to happen. Your soul, no longer scattered in 1,000 directions, begins to gather itself, begins to mend, begins to collect its scattered pieces into a wholeness that radiates from within. It is in that stillness where strength is born, not the strength of constant striving, but the strength of roots deepening in silence, unseen yet unshakable, preparing you to rise again when the time is right. So if these signs feel familiar to you, if they echo even faintly in the chambers of your heart, remember this truth that cannot be shaken. You are not broken, you are not lost, and you are certainly not failing. You are simply tired, and the tiredness is not weakness, but a natural response of the soul that has been carrying so much light for so long. Spiritual exhaustion is not the end of your journey. It is a threshold, an invitation whispered by the universe itself, an opening into a sacred pause that asks nothing of you but to breathe, to soften, and to allow yourself to rest without guilt. In this pause, you are not falling behind. You are being gathered, like a river returning to its source, like a seed returning to the earth, preparing for the quiet miracle of renewal that only stillness can bring. The path you were walking, the calling you were following, It will not vanish. It will still be here, waiting patiently, like a faithful friend who never leaves your side, ready to welcome you when your soul has gathered its strength again. And the universe. Ah, the universe. It will not punish you for slowing down. It will hold you. It will cradle you. It will love you with a tenderness deeper than you can imagine, wrapping you in arms of starlight until you are ready to rise again. So if any of this resonated with you, if a single word touched something hidden within, I invite you to share it in the comments below. Tell me which sign spoke to your heart most deeply, because your story may be the very mirror someone else needs to see. And if you would like to walk further with me through reflections like these, I invite you to like this video, to subscribe, to stay close. Because sometimes just one gentle reminder can be the light that carries you through the darkest night. Until then, rest gently, rest without fear, rest without shame. Because you are safe to pause, and in that pause, you are being held by something greater than you could ever put into words.